Alright folks, we'll get started in a bit. I am just doing some last minute adjustments. I realized that my window thingamajig, whatever the heck it is called, has some different settings compared to my PC mode, so I'm in a bit of a weird middle ground where I'm kind of bouncing back between my PC and my Mac versions of my computer. And so it's as if I had two computers, but it's like one computer, you know what I mean. But yeah, what's going on with it is basically stuff that I have on the PC side isn't automatically saved to the Mac, so I have to like go to Google Drive, re-download it from there, and yeah, just like kind of save everything twice. So that's kind of the downside of it, but you know, sometimes that just is. You figure it out, and yeah. I might transition over to everything PC someday. The only downside is that I'd have to restart all my saves again. So for games like Tennis Ace and Password, I'll have to re-remember every single choice that I did and just basically speed run through that. It's not like the end of the world, but it's like, you know, it's definitely gonna be like a solid couple days worth, or maybe a couple days worth of investment just to do, so that's a thing. Anyway, I'm getting some last minute saving options here. We are adding this to the list. Great to see you all again. Alright, let's get started in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I'm on the wrong screen, but that doesn't matter. Welcome back, folks. Dirk the Red Panda here with a black screen and password. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Things happened. I did some changing, so some of my other screens are a bit messed up right now, like that. This is what happens when you do things a bit last minute. But hey, that's just what you get for resetting everything up, and that's just how it goes sometimes. But luckily I do have everything in a good setup. Bam, we are back. Look at that, how gorgeous. Yes, hello to everybody. Wolfstar, Slow Panda, our first one back. Maestro, Google. Hey Google. And Robert. Great to see y'all here. Anyway, I'm gonna do some quickie last minute things here. I probably no longer need D&D streams here. I know, tragic, but the D&D is going goodbye. So, to anybody who saw my D&D the other week, I did that on PC, so my PC setup's been great for that. And the BRB screen, we'll just do a little bit of a replacing. I just added everything to a folder to keep everything nice and organized. And I don't... Oh, unsure. That's what it was called. Okay. There we go. Alright, we are all fixed here. Anyway, we are on day 23? 22? I know we're in the 20s. Yeah, day 22, day 23. So, since we currently have Tyson on screen, we might as well do Tyson first. So, we do Tyson and Dean both in the same day now, since we're currently in a big overlap scenario. I don't know if it will ever, like, truly branch out heavily in the future, but most of our days for the past few updates have been overlapping like 90% of the content. So what I do is basically I play this as if it's just Tyson's, go through the whole thing, and then go back and play the parts that would be unique to Dean's route when I do a second run through. But the common parts I just kind of skim through, tell people to timestamp back if they really want the genuine Dean experience. But yeah, apologies if that is a bit too tricky or complicated. I hope the timestamps help, but I do my best. Anyway. We are here. Page 6, I think this is. And page 8 is this? Whoa, we do not have as many page 8 saves. Wow. You have to scroll up a yonder. There we go. This update came out on Sunday. Actually, it came out on Sunday. I was like, it came out recently, but yeah, because of my schedule, I was going to play it on Friday. I try and make Fridays my wild card, YouTube, or whatever type of day. Monday, Wednesdays are my go-to Twitch streams. Sundays, I do D&D every other week. And yeah, so for Friday, I was going to do stuff, but then plans came up and just a lot happened in my schedule for yesterday, and yeah, had to move it to today, so maybe I should do enough talking and get to the streaming part of it. But yeah, let's get things set up. Oh, I was about to say preparing stream twice. Look at me go. Anyway, we'll begin the reading in a few seconds. And I think this is update 44? I'm not sure. Anyway, let's get started. The only consistent thing I knew was that whatever I was about to see, I wasn't going to like it. I really like that new day transition. Even though I can't save exactly on the marker for it, it's a nice save. It looks very smooth. I know in some of the previous days, if we go up there, you get day 13, day 15, you see this like kind of just in the bottom right corner text. Interesting. I save it at the end of the days. Okay. I guess we'll just do that for now. Give it up today. Oh, give it up to... I'm like, give it up. Okay. Give it up to day 23. Anyway, even as I was unconscious, it hurt. It hurt in a way that I couldn't quite understand, but I couldn't quite feel the lingering ache in my head all the same. I was no stranger to Thanatus's, well, habits of putting me under, but why he was doing it still eluded me. Maybe he just enjoyed doing it. Maybe he had a greater purpose. All I know for certain is that I wanted it to stop. Man, I remember day one, few years ago now, the bus. Oh, when my eyes opened, we were transported right back there. When my eyes opened, I knew where I was immediately. On the anti-homeless benches. It wasn't the first time that I wasn't in control either. Just a passenger in my own body. I yawned, pulling out my phone. Damn. I flicked through my contacts and hovered over Roswell's name before flicking over to Dean's and hitting dial. A few seconds later, he picked up. Dave, what's up, buddy? I missed my bus, I think. Oh, shoot. How'd that happen? I don't know. I was napping, I think, but something wasn't adding up. I was sitting there and I just missed my bus. Well, if this was a dream, fine. If this was a memory, then what was traumatic about this event that was making me remember? I hadn't been hit or something bad had happened, had it? Yes, best timeline. Dave misses the bus. As if to answer my question, a screeching car in the distance caught my attention and I stood up suddenly. I could feel my first stand on end as the car came speeding around the corner and down the street towards me. Dave, everything alright? How the car was moving was off. Aside from fast, it wasn't traveling in a straight line at all. Dave? Things went black just before the car crashed into the bus stop. I could feel my body tensing up in anticipation of the impact, but it never came. I could feel what was happening next before I could see it. The heat, the way the air felt heavy as I breathed in. Oh God, it was night. Through the raging fire in front of me was made as light as day. In my hand was Thanatos, limp for some reason, though deep down I knew I could figure out why. Despite being on the edge still of the driveway, I was close enough that the heat of the fire was radiating off the house in waves. I was cold in another way, somewhere deep inside. Thanatos. Part of me was hoping that he would still be alive. Part of me was hoping, wondering if this was just some trick or dream within a dream. Why are they? Why did you? I stood there just watching the fire for a bit, stunned and sick, sad and scared. Where were the others? Why was I outside? What happened with Jack, Dominic, and Memphis? Why was the house on fire? On top of that, why was I not wearing a shirt? Had I been sleeping? Just what had happened that led to this moment? These questions were going to go unanswered as once more things faded to black. My head still hurt, body aching as I felt myself begin to settle again. Though this time, it felt slightly more comfortable. As I opened my eyes, I found myself tucked into my bed. A light slap on my face confirmed I was awake properly now, and I carefully sat up to get an idea of what had happened. Not that there was anything to go off of. I was in bed. Everything was as I left it. Someone must have brought me here after finding me passed out in the rec room. I checked my phone to see what the time was, and I somehow slept the day away, and it was now morning again. With a groan, I rolled out of bed and wondered if there was a way to stop myself from sleeping so much. I threw on some pants and a shirt, foregoing my usual orange hoodie for the time being. Maybe it was the lingering thoughts on the fire that didn't make me feel cold, but I just needed to be moving. Maybe find Thanatos or even Roswell to get some answers. The house was quiet, and from what I could tell, I was the only one up. The thought of the fire was lingering on my mind, and I found my eyes looking around for anything that might be amiss. Did we have a fire extinguisher? Not that it'd help if the whole house went up. What about an escape route? Could we use the dinner bell? Though it seemed like the only time we'd use it was for the novelty rather than anything consistent. Minutes ticked by as I wandered back and forth in thought. I hadn't even considered going to get coffee until a small amount of movement caught my eye, and I looked over to the corridor leading towards the basement. Dave? Roswell? Immediately, I looked around for Thanatos and breathed out upon not seeing him, shaking my head. For a moment, I thought, well, thought what? Thanatos. After yesterday? That. Right. I gave Roswell a look. It was good that he seemed better compared to the day before, but I wondered why. Are you feeling okay? Yeah, I'm feeling, well, better than I did yesterday, that's for sure. Do you know why? Shy of bed rest? It'd be likely something that Osmond drugged me with. Said it'd take some time to kick in, but it should get me going. Wait, when did that happen? When? He seemed to think over, scratching his chin. I guess it happened sometime after you found me in the rec room. After Thanatos knocked me out, you mean? After he knocked both of us out. But you woke up sometime after that? Yeah. To Oswin injecting me with something. He really needs to stop doing that. Given how much better I'm feeling by comparison, I think I'd be willing to give him a pass on it. Grumbling, I shook my head. So, no Thanatos, and no idea why he did what he did? Again, Roswell seemed to be lost in thought, a small frown forming from the longer he didn't say anything. Roswell? Sorry, maybe. That's the short answer, anyway. And the long answer? Do you remember much of what happened when you came to the rec room yesterday? I showed up, you had a medal, and said... It was a trap. Yeah. He sat down on the stairs, chin cradled in his hands as he waited for me to join him. Admittedly, I don't really remember how I got to the rec room. Just that I was kind of in a daze. I remember running into Thanatos somewhere, just outside my room, though, and he must have led me there. And the medal? That part I remember. He handed it over to me shortly after I collapsed to the beanbag. Alright. And the medal is... where now? In my room. But when he handed it over, I remember him saying something like, now we just have to wait for the hyena to show up, and a few minutes later, you did. You knew it was a trap just from that? You tell me, Dave. I don't think throwing you a party upon your arrival was the plan. Yeah, you're probably right. I didn't think the trap was going to be a literal sound trap, though. What does he get out of knocking us both out, though? And why was I out until this morning, but you were woken up? I couldn't tell you. Maybe because I was being medicated was why I woke up. Not that I was awake for long before sleeping again. Remind me to take a page out of Tyson's book when I see him again. Thanatos needs to stop being a jerk and knocking people out. Yeah, Thanatos, that's mean. Catch him off guard near an open window and you might be able to enjoy a little bit of defenestration. I've never heard that word. The more you know, featuring Roswell. Roswell, it's too early for long words. I mean, throwing him out the window. You know, I'd be probably fine with that. If only once. So, what happens now? I don't think there's much to really talk about, is there? Well, except... He turned to me with a wry smile, almost as if he knew what was going to be said before I did. Except what's happening later today with Dominic. Right. Well, I don't think there's much to talk about, is there? Sure there is. I mean, Oswald is going sure, but are you fine with being the one to go with him? Being fine with it is relative. All things considered, it makes sense that I'd go. With how I'm feeling now, minus the nerves, I could probably move a mountain. Even though it's dangerous? That's where the nerves are. I guess I could rely on being lucky and things are going to turn out okay, but... well... that's it? You're just going to hope you're lucky. What if something happens? Then we deal with it then. I don't think we're really able to plan around something going wrong out there. Or at least I'm not going to have many options once I'm out there. What of us back here? You'll have Benson. Plus everyone else to formulate a plan. Or an escape, potentially. I'd probably leave that to Benson to know what's best. Right. Do we know what it... Jeez. Man, my brain's out of it, morning talk. Do we know when it's happening, at least? No. Just that... it's going to be happening today at some point. Alright. Well, I should probably put some time aside to get a few things prepared, just in case. Mind if I borrow your flashlight? Yeah, of course. You'll need to get it back if it's dark at all. Or you'll need it to get back if it's dark at all. Thanks. Which really only leaves one thing. Which is what? To wait, really? Beyond me mentally preparing myself, of course. Nothing else? Just waiting. Well, I could go for some coffee. Not to mention, well, I did also have a favor to ask. What's the favor? So, I imagine that while I'm mentally preparing for the worst, I'm not going to want to be distracted. So, to that end, I think... Orlando might need some company today. Why Orlando? No issues with it, I guess. Just curious. Given his dad is on the mountain, I imagine a potential confrontation is, doing wonders for his nerves. Right. I guess that makes sense. It'll be easy. Just take his mind off things with games or until it's time. Once I leave with Oswin, then it's going to get a little harder just with, well, the waiting, I imagine. And you're going to spend all this time by yourself? Preparing? Not all of it. I want to go talk to Tyson at some point. Maybe Sal. How come? Making a calculated gamble. If there are any problems, I trust the two of them will be able to help Benson the most. Not someone like Dean? Dean is the backup, in case something goes wrong in there. He's the best one to try and lead a rescue mission. Not that I'd be for that, but in the worst case scenario, we need to be ready. I guess so. I wasn't sure I really believed him, but I think a lot of it was buried by my uncertainty of how the day was going to go. Just coffee. Let's do coffee and wait for the others. Sounds good. Roswell and I made some coffee and sat in the dining room. He seemed to drink his down as if there was nothing wrong on the horizon, while I sipped on mine and finished it off only once it had gone cold. Let me sip that coffee. It's just water. Delicious. Slowly the others started to file in, quietly sitting down at the table, but it was clear we were all troubled, likely about the same thing. And also, good evening to anybody who just joined. I kind of just missed that earlier. Captain Nemo, Riverland, and yeah, I think those are the two new people. Good to see y'all. And yes, all are happy to see me doing this. Yeah, I was kind of intrigued about this update. Let's continue with it. It was clear when Roswell got up from the table and left, off to mentally prepare or whatever, and we all looked at one another once he was gone. So? Today's the day. Yeah. Sort of. I guess. And we get to go home. Assuming everything goes well with the deal, right? Seemed like Roswell was feeling better too. That's what he said before everyone else got up. That he was feeling better anyway. Right. How are you feeling, by the way, Dave? You gave us a bit of a scare when you didn't come back yesterday. Same as the rest of you guys, I guess. Though, can someone fill in the blanks? What happened after I blacked out? Well, when you didn't come back, we all went up to the rec room to see what happened. Found you and Roswell passed out, and that's about it, really. Not entirely true. He's forgetting the part where Roswell had a medal with him. Virgo, I think. No Thanatos?
Wasn't there as far as I remember. Well, there was someone else.
Who? Oswin.
Right. He showed up shortly after we did and checked you both over. Then, when he was convinced you were both fine, he took Roswell away and put him in bed. Left putting you in bed to me.
Oh, well. Thanks for putting me somewhere comfortable, at least. It was strange. It was as if he knew that you two were unconscious, though. It's a shame we only heard about this after you got back downstairs. Something about him isn't adding up. Don't worry. I have, questions that Benson's willing to answer later. About just that. I just noticed something. I'll fix it in a sec. Anyway, I do have some questions about that. It's a shame you missed waffles and chicken, though. It's fine. Maybe I can have chicken and waffles tomorrow night, when we're home. Or, yeah, whenever that happens. So we're just left to wait.
Sounds like it, yeah.
I thought back to what Roswell said. the favor he asked. Hey Orlando, how are you holding up given what's about to happen? What? Me? As good as I can be. Why do you ask? Which admittedly isn't all that good. Alright, well, let's go play some games or something. Try and keep our minds off of things until it's time.
Whenever that might be.
In that case, guess I better keep an eye out for Tom then. Unless we want him potentially busting the door down.
I looked over to the other two, knowing that Roswell was going to talk to them later. They seemed to follow suit in answering the question all the same, though.
I might go work out then. Something light just to keep my body doing something. Not a bad idea. I was considering the pool, but perhaps staying indoors is still the right call.
Nodding to myself, I figured this was for the best. If Roswell wanted to talk to them both, then them being in the same place was likely to make things easier. Haas decided to stick with Dean so he wasn't alone, and we all split off. With the exception of Roswell, we each had a buddy with us so we weren't alone. But being alone was the least of our troubles, and I started to understand just how right Roswell was to ask the favor. Orlando, despite the controller in his hand and looking somewhat relaxed in the beanbag, was still trembling as he slowly played. I wasn't sure what to say or do in a situation like this, because all there was to do was wait. Dave. Yeah? Can you stop staring? It's just kind of freaking me out. Oh, sorry. Is waiting for the whole thing to go down bothering you? Yeah. I spoke with Roswell before everyone got up, and it's just so surreal that we're at this point. I'm just surprised that he's still able to smile being put into danger like that. Aw, thanks, Maestro. He's doing it for us, though. And maybe dying is helping him to be brave. Or reckless. How are you, though? Worried. Worried about so much. My friends, you especially. I fear that I'm just not going to be able to do anything to help if anything happens with my dad. He reached over and squeezed my hand lightly, sighing. Dominic can't get here soon enough. I just want this all over. Even knowing that Roswell's going to be at risk? It can't be helped. No amount of talking to him would change his mind either. I just hope that he'll be back sooner rather than later. You and me both. Minutes started to tick by, soon turning into hours. The two of us just pushing down the fact that we were waiting for so long with nothing happening. No word from the others either. Eventually, the waiting became too much and we wandered downstairs in need of refreshment. Anything?
Not yet. Been watching, but... yeah, Nothing.
Nothing from the front either.
Do you think maybe he changed his mind? That the deal is off?
If that's the case, then we would have seen someone by now, right?
I guess you're right. Seen any of the others?
Roswell was wandering around before looking for Sal, but that was hours ago.
And he never showed up again.
Well, I've been outside, so if he returned from the basement, I didn't see him. How about you, Haas?
Same. I've been out of the front, so... Similar situation.
Should we go looking for any of them? I doubt anything would have happened to them. Which almost certainly means something has. Knowing our luck.
Hey now, don't go saying things like that.
Tea? Anyone want some tea to take the edge off?
I'll have some coffee. Oh wait, did Orlando say that? Or no, we said that. Okay. Yeah.
Same. If you're putting a pot on.
No, I did not make this character, my PNG tuber. It's made by Saint Bullart on Twitter. You can go follow them there. Have their @ in the description. Yeah. Anyway, tea for me, please.
Oh, alright. I'll be right back.
He wandered off, leaving the rest of us to linger in the foyer.
So, guess it's just back to waiting, right?
What time is it anyway? Good question, Dean.
About 5. Sun's already starting to set, so it'd be around then anyway.
He really isn't coming, is he? Unless he's wanting to lead us through the dark forest.
You don't think that's the point, do you? To make it difficult to return?
A frustrated yell echoed from above us down to the foyer, quickly followed by the hurried stomps of someone coming from downstairs.
Where is he?
Osman had stopped about halfway down the stairs towards us, breathing heavily and bracing himself on the railing. Who?
Thanatos.
What did he do?
Did something happen?
He was gone again before answering Dean's question, though one look between each of us told me that we were all intending on following. Orlando detoured to go tell Haas what had happened, whereas Dean and I just were following close behind. We're close. Jeez, I can't read. Orlando detoured to go tell Haas what had happened, whereas Dean and I were following as close behind Osman as we could, only just catching him head into Roswell's bedroom. As expected, Roswell was here, but how he looked was worrying. He's unconscious.
Someone sedated him. He's out cold. But who? My assumption would be that either Thanatos is behind this or knows for just certain what happened in this room.
Wait, you didn't sedate him?
I can understand how you came to that conclusion, but no. Given I spent a good deal of effort getting him to the point of being able to leave with me, putting him back under right before Dominic shows up doesn't make much sense now, does it?
How do you know Dom was about to show up?
I don't. The timing is suspicious as it is, and I would have assumed that he had shown up or you would have let someone know. Or someone would have anyway. In light of such news, I can only assume he's yet to arrive.
I approached carefully, looking at Roswell. He just seemed to be sleeping, as if nothing was wrong at all. My eyes traveled over to the medal sitting on his bedside table. It was here like he said, and I wandered over and picked it up.
Ah yes, the Ares medal.
Not Virgo?
No, who told you that?
Orlando did, earlier today.
I can understand the confusion, but I assure you this one is Ares. No idea where he'd pick it up from, truth be told. No idea where he'd picked it up from, truth be told, but if it's found, that's only a good thing.
But the symbol is a V, isn't it?
Dave, this is hardly the time. Can't you see the problem we have in front of us?
I don't know what you can expect from either of us, Oswin. We know as much as you do, and between the three of us, you're the only one qualified to do anything about it.
Oswin grumbled, shaking his head. There's nothing I can do. If anything, we're now faced with a very real problem should Dominic arrive.
Well, that's all there is to it, right? You'll just have to pick someone else to go with you.
Oswin's attention was locked on Roswell the moment Dean stopped talking, and he slowly nodded. Yes, I suppose I will. Dean looked briefly to me before he went back to Oswin, scratching his neck.
I volunteer.
Noted.
Good. I'll get ready then.
I never said yes.
But who else would be willing to go? That would be able to go.
We need to find Thanatos. If he's behind this, then there's probably a reason. The reason was that he didn't want Roswell to going, if any. It didn't feel like he was forcing someone else specific to go instead. Just that it wasn't him. Agreed. I'll tuck Roswell into bed before I go searching.
I'll head back downstairs and let the others know what's happened.
Dean was barely out of the room before I could hear him run into Haas and Orlando just outside the room. A hurried explanation later, and they wandered off quickly in search of relaying the news to Tyson and Sal, along with finding the rat. Dave. I looked over as Oswin was carefully picking Roswell up, shifting him in his arms before sliding him carefully into bed once the covers were pulled back. We should have a talk. I don't like the sound of that. It's nothing serious. Just overdue.
What's it about?
Benson told me that you were asking about whether or not Roswell and I were related again.
Ah, right. Did he also tell you that he was willing to answer whatever questions I had after you two left? He did. And I have a trade I'd like to offer you. You're going to ask me to go with you into the woods. Too obvious. It's a terrible idea is what it is. Dean's better suited to it. He's at least good at outdoor stuff. True, he'd make the better choice normally, but there's things that need to be said beyond the range at which a certain rat can listen in. Things about your father. Things about Roswell and myself. Things just better coming from my mouth. As opposed to Benson's. Your choices are between me potentially lying to you on the way to me being held as collateral to get you all home safely, or half-truths from Benson. Pick your poison. So you'll tell me once we're on the way? I'll need some time to grab a few things beforehand, but yes. I don't imagine Dominic is going to mind too much so long as we're quiet and subtle about the finer points. And there's no other option? You can't tell me now, and instead take, like, anyone else? This is the offer I give you. Either I tell you, and only you, or I take someone else in there, and we make the exchange as originally planned. This isn't fair. Life isn't fair. And the others? They're just going to let you get away with this? If you volunteer, I imagine the others will fight against the suggestion, but I do believe I made it clear that the decision at the end of the day remains with me. Something in me broke a little. I could have just said that I didn't want to know. That I didn't need to know. But he'd hit me where it hurt most, bringing up my dad after knowing what the two of them had talked. Okay. I hate this, but okay. Trust me, I feel that once I've imparted the knowledge to you, you know how to put it to its best use. Beyond just walking down the driveway now and Beyond just walking down the driveway now and risk missing Dominic, heading into the woods together is the only option. We headed downstairs together, but I was dazed, looking somewhere far off without acknowledging those around me. Oswin had split off from me at some point, presumably going to search for Thanatos, whereas I figured I should be keeping a watch for when Dominic arrived. Back to this CG again. I wondered if I was getting numb from everything happening, from all the worry and fear building up to where I just couldn't feel it anymore. It was a strange feeling, almost like being trapped. But trapped in a way that was different to the times that Thanatos had put me under. Different to the times where I just wasn't sure what to do. Different to anything else I had felt before. But I was sure of one thing at the very least. I was giving up. I didn't feel like I had any control anyway. So I fight it. what things I had managed to figure out, the people I'd managed to save. Was any of it my doing? Just give up, Dave. There's no point in worrying about it. I heard the back door click open and Sal wandered up to join me. I barely turned to acknowledge he was there, still lost within my head. But he spoke anyway.
2 things. The first, are you alright?
I'm fine. It was a lie, and he knew it too. But given what he'd likely been told already, he just nodded and let it go.
The second was that we found Thanatos.
And did he...
I don't know. He is not talking.
At all?
Just stating that it's out of his hands now. That we're in uncharted territory for him.
Oh.
We've brought him into the dining room if you want to talk to him, or ask him anything. He talks to you most from what I understand.
I get the impression that he made this happen just so that what happens next will happen. He's forcing what's about to happen.
Which is...
something bad.
And there's nothing we can do?
Thanatos has said it already. It's out of our hands now, and it's out of his. Oh, I guess I read that the opposite way. It's out of his hands now, and it's out of ours too.
Oh, well.
It's alright. I've gotten used to knowing that... I've gotten used to not knowing anything, Sal. Just... look forward to being home soon. It's what I'm doing. He nodded slowly and headed back inside, though I heard him hesitate going back inside. I was back to waiting, occasionally looking up in case Dominic had shown up. Not that I was alone long. Oswin breathed out into the evening air as he stepped out next to me. I caught the vague smile on his face, and I wondered how he was able to do it. Not fretting too much, are we? I don't know. Understandably, you'd be nervous, anxious, or any combination of emotions. Then, why are you smiling? I looked at him again briefly and noticed the telltale signs. The telltale signs that I'd recognized in my own face. He was scared. Smiling, but scared. What other choice do we have? We'll make our exchange. I'll stay, and you'll head back. Get your friends and get home. Me? Well... do you think he'll... you know... It's possible. But I've made my peace. He chuckled, shaking his head and wiping his eyes without taking his glasses off. Benson is livid. Benson is livid. And he's not going to stop you? He can't. This was my decision. Punishment or comeuppance for everything that's gone wrong during your stay here. What? I'll explain more when we're on our way. He stretched and gave me a once-over. You should go get your flashlight. It's only getting darker. Yeah, good idea. I went back up and grabbed it, taking another look around the room for anything that could have been important, but found nothing. My wait for when we were meant to head off was spent at the top of the stairs looking down at the foyer. I could hear the others talking about what to do with Thanatos. Benson's irritated voice amongst them. No doubt his mood was soured after Oswin had filled him in on what he decided was going to happen. Well, given the lack of attention I was getting, I could only assume the others hadn't been told of Oswin's decision. Eventually, I stepped back outside, noticing Oswin lingering just about as if he was just waiting for Dominic's arrival without bothering to prepare anything. But we weren't waiting long at all. From the shadows, Dominic emerged and started to make his way over to us. There he is, the big man with the big arms. I know I'm supposed to be sad, but look at those pobs. Those big pobbers. And people said that Brian was a problematic character. We have Dom here trying to run us up for runner-up in that position. I wonder who would win in a fight. Anyway.
Sorry I'm late.
I forgot what his voice was, but I'm gonna go with this. It's only been the 2 days that I forgot your voice. 2 days in game, that is.
Sorry I'm late.
You never gave us a time as to when you were going to be arriving, did you?
Oh, then forget the apology. We have a walk to get to.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Wait just a fucking moment.
Tyson! He's gonna save us. Tyson stormed out from the back door and put a hand on my shoulder, pulling me backwards and stepping in front of me as a shield.
You're not taking Dave. So you're going?
No, the hyena is the one coming with us.
Like hell he is!
As Tyson was building up into a yelling match, I hugged him hard from behind and made him stop. As he registered what was happening, I pulled away and he turned to face me properly.
What's going on?
It needs to happen this way, Ty.
I'm not letting you go out there.
You have to.
What if something happens?
If I don't, same sort of problem.
We're going to have a problem unless we get a move on. Dave.
I'll be back as soon as I can, Ty. Promise.
If you don't, I'll be coming to look for you.
I leaned up and kissed him lightly on the side of his muzzle. It'll be okay. It was a lie I had to tell myself, and my face gave away immediately that I didn't believe it. Tyson, however, seemed to be struggling to understand, but he didn't stop me from moving forward again, to stand in front of Dominic. Let's get going. I chose not to look back. I had to keep looking forward. Otherwise, the pit in my stomach was going to make me throw up. Or maybe not that, but instead be able to unmove. I mean, unable to move, jeez. I just made up words. Dominic led the way forward, Oswin beside me as we followed close behind. My flashlight for the time being was unneeded, but we were quickly losing any light coming from the mansion. As I stumbled, Oswin reached out and kept me upright, seemingly distracted. Dominic, you don't mind if we fill the silence with some chatting, do you? Dom didn't stop and seemed to wave Oswin off with a grunt. Oswin looked across to me, his voice dropping in volume. Well, we're out here now. We're free to talk. About... I assumed you had questions. I assumed you had answers. Or, if not answers, things you want to tell me yourself. That is true, yes. He rummaged in his coat pocket and pulled out an envelope. Is that the same one from your lab? Yes. Though, given the circumstances, I'm going to give it to you now. He offered it out and I took it, unsure of what to do with it. You could have just given me this back at home, or back at the house. Back then, I assumed that I was going to be giving it to someone else. Roswell, you mean? Yep, Roswell. It was a photo, right? Of what? That I'd ask for you to see for yourself. But only once you're back at the mansion. Why? Aside from it being dark, I feel this might be something worth having a safe space to properly digest what's in the picture. It's not something gross, is it? I wouldn't say so, no. But given we're meant to be following behind Dominic to wherever he's taking us, now isn't the best time. For now, put it in your pocket if it'll fit. I did so and hurried along to keep what distance I had from Dom consistent. Alright, so start talking about my dad. I suppose I should start with a question. Did Thanatos ever tell you what David saw? You did. It was a shooting. Right. When I told you why Carol was here. Dad wanted to bring Memphis in, but also save my life. A sentiment that, as you know, couldn't be accomplished. He chose you over taking down one of the most dangerous men I know of, anyway. But why? A father, a decent one at least, will do anything for his son. One that is not so great might choose differently. So what? I still had to suffer because Dad wasn't around anymore? Even now, I feel like sometimes that you should have died? Not exactly. Closer to wanting to die. Or at least that's how it was until a week or so ago. Oswin grunted, but let me continue. But things are different now. I feel not entirely better, but a little bit. I want to live. It's hard, but I think that's what Dad would have wanted. I'd say so. What about you? What about me? Benson said you always wanted to be a dad, but life said otherwise. Oh, did he now? Well, yeah. Said that's why you interacted the way you did with Roswell. Ah, yes. I suppose that's not entirely inaccurate. So, are you related? Or what? Oswin breathed out through his nose, shaking his head. The photo explains that better. How come a photo explained that better when I'm just asking you directly? Well, answer the question. Alright. Yes, we're related. God, I knew it. I knew when we were asking him, like, back when, and he was like, Dave, that's a dumb question, or whatever. I knew he was skirting around that question. Come on, you can't fool me. And this isn't being specious. This is just, like, the more we've read over them, it's like they've had to have a past together, like, the chemistry of them. And not, like, you know, that type of chemistry, but, you know, like, relational, like, relative, friend, you know, past familial type of bond chemistry. It's hard to explain. But yes, we're related. So, like an uncle? That's a close enough description. That wasn't a yes. If you're not an uncle, then what? Uncle is sufficient, though. Frankly, I don't feel like family. But rarely, very rarely, does that boy make me feel good. Good? Just good. I wouldn't go putting a label on it like love or some such, but I do care for the boy. In a way, I don't really know how or why. Maybe it is love, after all. And Roswell knows. I wouldn't put it past him to assume that we're related, though I haven't explicitly told him that we share a family tree. Which means you two had met before this vacation started. That's right. But you barely leave the house. Also correct. Roswell has been to the mansion before? Yes. I continued walking alongside Oswin, thoughts swimming in my head, thoughts that kept circling back around to wanting to talk to Roswell again, to get his side of the story. Why hide any of this? Why not say anything sooner? Why lie about it? Don't think too hard on it, Dave. Because there's not much to really digest. Everything I've told you doesn't affect much now anyway. So when I get back to the mansion, what do you want me to do? Pardon? I don't want anything from you aside from getting off this mountain. But then what's significant about the letter? I wrote a message on the back. A message for Roswell. And you want me to make sure he reads it. You can read it too, just... It's important that he gets the message as well. Sure, I can do that. Again, we continue to walk, silence stretching out with Dominic occasionally looking over his shoulder at us to make sure we were still following. It was hard to make out his fur in the dark, the only thing helping being his tank top. Plus my flashlight. Though the darkness felt so oppressive at times, I wasn't sure it was working. Dave? Or no, that's Oswin. Dave. I almost jumped when he said my name after so long without saying anything. What? I'm sorry. For what? For getting you wrapped up in things. If I had been a better man, a stronger man, then perhaps I could have thought of a way your father might still be with us, and you wouldn't be on this mountain. You can't change the past. Don't worry about it. Perhaps not. Though, I still wonder how much Thanatos had probably orchestrated everything that's happened. I almost stopped walking to look at him, but followed after when he didn't break stride. What do you mean? Well, given Memphis keeps his list of accessories either flagrantly out in the open, or hidden somewhere where no one would know to look, getting anything of value information-wise would be difficult. Makes sense, but doesn't answer the question. What I mean is that your father only arrived on this mountain because I called. At the time, you pointed out that I hadn't done business with Memphis, and while I had spoken to him, there was no possible way the police would know that. But why? To take down Memphis? Because Thanatos said I should. And you listened. When a machine with multi-universal awareness suggests you do something because it's beneficial, you typically listen. Huh. I guess, but what if he was lying? I imagine that were that the case, you'd be dead. Or perhaps you never would have come to the mansion. Or I would have tried applying for something to let me practice medicine again. Really? After what happened with the trial? It would have been a long shot, but I do thoroughly enjoy being a chemist. Enough to try to leave the mansion? There will be a time where I'll have to leave the mansion eventually, Dave. I do not intend on dying here. I hope no one would. Right.
We're getting close.
It'd been the first time Dom had spoken since we left, and I was only then conscious of how sore my feet were from the walk. Just how long had we been going for anyway? Nothing else was said until we hit a point where a soft light was lingering somewhere between the trees. And eventually, we arrived. Oh, the cabin. Fuck the cabin. Fuck! It was a cabin, or given how run down it was, probably closer to a shack. Still, Dom led the way up to the front door and ushering us inside. I entered first and froze in place upon seeing who was in the room. Only moved when Oswin eased me inside so he can enter as well. Dominic stepped in behind us both and closed the door behind him. Ah! No! Stop! No! I am going to punch this guy so hard. I am going to punch him so damn hard. Ah! I have to read this.
Well, look Look who the cat dragged in. Oh, Bear. Let's go with Bear. Jack's attention shifted immediately over to Dom, and he seemed to light up, throwing his arms quickly in a greeting. Dom, you're back! It's so good to see you. Jack went to get closer, but Dom quickly shook his head, looking to the third person in the room. We looked over to the figure hunched over a table, facing away from us. He seemed to be playing cards or something, but it was hard to really tell.
Just dropping one of these off before heading out again.
Well, can I come this time at least? I'm bored out of my skull here.
Take it up with the boss.
He can go. Just be quick about it.
The gravelly voice from the dragon as he rose from the table. I remember the look he gave me as he caught a glance of us over his shoulder. It was fleeting, but oppressive all the same.
Good to see you again, Oswin.
There was a low chuckle that came out of his mouth before he turned around fully and came closer. Dominic and Jack seemed to back off, looking anywhere but him as he came to stand in the middle of the room to stare at us. Oh man, is this his dad? What a boss. Yikes. I want to punch him, but he'll kill me.
Who's the kid?
I went to answer, but he stepped in quickly, grabbing me by the jaw and looking me over.
You're the kid that came to my house that one time.
He let me go with a rough shove backwards into Oswin, who braced my fall and caught me by my shoulders.
Well, alright, I see how it is. You want to know how we got on the mountain? Consider it a trade, then.
He gestured for Dom to come forward and whispered something into his ear, getting a reaction.
But, boss,
need me to spell it out. Just get it done.
Dominic's eyes went to me. No! Stop! Dominic's eyes went to me before he turned to Oswin.
Let's get going.
In a huff, Dominic left, keeping the door open, but seemingly unimpressed. As I went to move, my meaty hand landed on my shoulder and gripped tight.
Now, where do you think you're going, kid?
I'm gonna go find out. Where? I started to tremble, piecing it together. I'd hoped that I had just misunderstood, or that I'd imagined things, but Dominic had been talking to Oswin, and not me.
That wasn't the deal. So
I didn't offer the boy as collateral. He can't offer you anything anyway.
See, that's where you're wrong. You can just clean up the moment the kids get off the mountain. You could just clam up the moment the kids get off the mountain. You could just as happily not tell us anything as it...
Man, this mob boss ain't that fearful. He ain't that terrifying. He can't even speak a full sentence.
You could just as happily not tell us anything, then it's us that gets nothing out of this deal.
His grip tightened more and I gasped slightly, tensing up to try not and give away how much this was hurting.
Taking the kid, though. Yeah, I think
you'd be more than willing to be helpful once you've told the rest how to get home. Then we can really start discussing this as adults.
But he was struggling, and I was struggling too. If Roswell had come in my place, would he be right where I was, standing instead? Would he be held hostage for the sake of the rest of us?
So hurry along before Dominic leaves without you. Then head on back home. Tell the kids' friends where they can get off the mountain. Then come back here. Then, if you're quick enough, there might be some of this hyena left.
Fuck! I am scared! Don't do this to him! Oswin looked at me, torn between apologetic and angry, but he turned quickly, heading for the door.
I'll be back.
As the door closed behind him, things went quiet, and I was left alone with Memphis.
Well, sit down.
When I didn't move, he grabbed me by the throat and lazily threw me towards one of the chairs. Even though it was clear he hadn't put his full strength into it. My neck throbbed from how it had been momentarily crushed. Memphis dropped down into his chair and started shuffling the cards up, watching me carefully as I slowly lowered myself into the other chair. Jack, meanwhile, remained where he was after Memphis had started speaking.
Jack, what are you standing around for?
He took my seat.
Then go find another.
There isn't one.
Then kick the kid out as I deal this up. What?
I sank in my chair, realizing I shouldn't have said anything. Help?
Go on. Haven't gone all day.
What are you going to do with me?
Me? Nothing. Jack here, on the other hand. Well, I figure you'll be great friends.
No! Stop! Stop! I can't read it. My blood ran cold as Jack wandered around to stand behind me, placing his hands slowly on my shoulders.
Oh, don't you worry, boss. We've met before.
Then this is the kid you ran into by the mill?
Yep. This is him.
The one you let get away?
I was just playing around, boss. I didn't hurt him none.
Well, you should have.
Still can be arranged.
Whatever you do, just keep it down. I reckon Oswald is going to drag his feet getting back here.
You think so? Seemed to not like you switching things up on him.
Do I look like I care?
Works for me.
I was then half shoved out of the chair, and Jack sat down as Memphis started to deal out some cards. My eyes went out to the door, wondering if I should run for it. Chances are Dominic and Oswin were long gone, so if I could slip by, I might escape. Slowly, I started to edge towards the door, but got a couple of steps there before I heard a distant click.
Don't even think about it.
Memphis had a gun pointed at me, something that looked far too large to be comfortable in one hand, but he didn't seem to be bothered in the slightest. Carefully, I raised my hands and backed away from the door, staring at the barrel of the gun as it was trained on me.
Jack, take him to the other room.
Where we sleep?
Nah, the other room.
Ugh! Jack was beside me in a flash and started walking us across to the hallway. There were only 2 doors. One door was left ajar, and from what I saw, there were beds. The other, though, was closed. Up until Jack kicked it open and threw me forward, so I landed inside on my knees. It was cold and dusty. I could feel a draft coming in from somewhere, but above me, hanging from the ceiling, were hooks. Some broken, others that looked cruel and sharp. What a pain in the ass. Dom gets to have all the fun. Jack had me backed up and pushed me into the corner right before knocking me back down again. So, here's the deal. You sit there, keep quiet, and just wait. You're not going to hurt me? Oh, I can rough you up some if you really want. Maybe pick up where we left off. He kicked me slightly when I didn't respond, shaking his head. Nah, can't go having any fun without Dom saying it's fine. Stupid deal. You chase one hyena for fun and the boss grounds you. You never had to do that, you know. But I wanted to, Dave. Now, here's how this is going to work. You're gonna sit right there in the corner and keep quiet. But given you just tried running away, how about we do something about that? Upon catching sight of the knife he had tucked away, I froze, only realizing what he'd done once he stepped away again. My ankle had been chained to the wall, a lock keeping the manacle closed. Now you sit tight and don't make a sound, Dave. Otherwise, I don't think the boss is going to like coming in here to keep you quiet himself. With a wave, Jack left the room and closed the door behind him. I could hear him wander away, then the muffled sounds of him talking with Memphis about something. I tried not to waste the effort by listening in, only because the sight of the hooks instead had my attention. I didn't like this place. It was giving me this awful feeling, this dark feeling, and subconsciously, I felt my hand go to my chin. Trembling in the cold, I tried to ball up in order to keep warm. Yelling for help wasn't going to help, because there was no one around. If anything, I was in more danger if I said a word. So, I started to cry. Quietly, cold and scared, worried for what was about to happen. It was all I had left. Oh. After a few minutes to myself, I remembered the envelope in my pocket. With nothing else to do, I pulled it out and weighted it in my hands. An envelope from Oswin, meant for Waswell, and now in my hands. After a few more seconds, I carefully opened it, reaching in and looking at the photo. Aw, I wasn't sure what I was looking at first. It could have been the dark or any combination of things distracting me, but it was clear as day. It was a photo of Roswell when he was very young. The woman next to him No doubts would be his mother. But why was she so familiar? Who? I thought back to what Oswin had said and started to connect the dots. If he was related to Roswell somehow, then one of the people in this picture had to be related to him, right? One of Roswell's parents. If the woman was his mother based on the context, then it would be Florencia. It had to be. But then came the question of the father. Maybe this woman wasn't Florencia. Instead, the father was going to be Oswin's brother. What? What? I didn't understand. This was a rabbit. Or a hare. I couldn't tell the difference anymore. Either way, this wasn't Roswell's dad. Or at least, it couldn't be. Roswell wasn't half rabbit. I mean, you couldn't have half species. Like, not like that anyway. Carefully, I looked at the man's features. He looked like a magician. Or maybe it was just because of the fancy cut of this coat. His white fur did remind me of a little bit of the Easter Bunny, though. Oswin said it'd be fine if I read the note, so long as Roswell got it too. Though I wasn't sure if the rules still applied, given the assumption was that I'd be the one getting back. Still, what harm could it be? Ah, no! You're gonna make me cry! Stop! Stop! Oh my god. I love you. The message was simple and to the point. I figured that there would have been something more. Something profound, maybe. Just not this. I read the words again, finding myself smirking slightly. They were nice words. Words that I was looking forward to hearing again myself. I tucked the photo back into my pocket and went back to waiting. So I waited and waited. I heard Dominic come back and someone else leave. I could hear hushed voices between those still here, but nothing else. No one came to check on me, but that didn't make the cold any easier. I huddled up in the corner and just waited. Someone would come for me. Someone would find me. Eventually. This is it. Ah! Why you gotta leave me like that? Oh, you can't just do that to me. I feel so lost and saddened by that. Oh shoot, I forgot to save. The most important part. Oh, this is bad. This is very bad. I am terrified. I don't know what to do now. My brain is just fried. Obviously, I'm gonna go back and read Dean's part, but I don't know how to process that. What does it mean? What does it all mean? I've tried to piece that part together. Is Roswell, like, does Roswell have a stepfather? Could he really be his dad? And he just couldn't, like, keep him around Or if it is for, well, obviously if it's for Valencia, he wouldn't be his father. So, yeah. I guess we can go back and play the Dean parts, which I bet there's only one of, but hey, it's something. This is a whole world of pain. My brain hurts. Dean, you're probably not gonna have much different. You might volunteer as tribute yourself, but God. This is nuts. Anyway, let's do this. This might be a very short one, but I'll probably have a very easy time editing it. Editing the timestamps, that is. Anyway. Let's go from here. The only consistent thing I knew was that whenever I was about to see, I knew I wasn't going to like it. Alright. Wait. Everything's the same up until... Editor's note. Up until... Here. I'll just knock that in for the timestamp. Alright, folks, so we are at Dean's unique line. If anybody wants to reimagine this but with Dean and just bounce through the timestamps, here you go. Yeah, I guess you're right.
Wait!
Dean stomped forward, emerging from the back door.
Dave, what do you think you're doing?
I'm going into the woods with Oswin. I'm going into the woods with Oswin.
But why?
I believe I made my stance on this clear, Dean. I'm the one that decides who accompanies me. Dean, it's all right.
It's not all right. This decision makes no sense at all. What if you get lost on your way back?
I have my flashlight.
So, who's coming with me? I want to get moving.
It'll be myself and the hyena. Dean, go back inside.
You can't tell me to do that.
But I can.
What?
Please, just... I'll be back as soon as I can. It won't take too long. Hopefully.
You're serious? It's just... This is how it needs to be?
Yeah. Yeah. He breathed out, shaking his head. Then carefully he leaned forward and kissed me on the top of my head, giving me a gentle squeeze.
Alright, just be safe.
I'll try. I flashed him a smile, but neither of us believed it. We were both worried, and in lieu of standing there all night, I turned back to Dominic. Let's get going. And that is the end of the unique part. I'm assuming this will probably be the end of the entire reading, but if not... Man. Let's get going then. We go into the forest, and everything happens as is. We see Memphis. It's a nightmare. We must deal with it. And I could not get it to properly fast forward. So, pardon me as during the end of the reading, I go and do that. replay number 2. Hopefully we get this. All right, and eventually, yep, that's the line. Okay. All right, folks, we can now say that this is our suspense for the next update of password, and boy, we are in for a misery train. I am scared for the next password update. I don't know what's gonna happen next, Billy Bob. I am terrified. And how am I feeling? I may have just said, but my brain just forgot. Terrified. I am very, very terrified. Very depressed from that. But like in an in-world way. Luckily I can go back outside and take a walk, hopefully to get the anxiety of that update out. But at least we do know some things about, well, Roswell. Yeah, Oswin. It's like, Oswin's gotten more and more human as we've read this. Not trying to say that like he's robotic, but just, he's become more, what is it, empathetic, sympathetic? Like, he's just, yeah. Who are Roswell's parents? Would you like to meet my parents? I was recording this in case this would be like one of those that I could like highlight and if there's any comedy of errors like some of my streams, but definitely not this one. We are not really gonna have much of a comedy fest at all in this stream. The opposite of it, in fact. But yeah, I'm glad everybody came for this. Y'all the password fans, y'all love this, and I'm glad I can treat you to a live, genuine first playthrough reaction. Mostly narrating and voice acting, but then reactions. So, I'm not sure if I'm going to do any pandering for this. Might as well. To the left of me is my bits and emotes and stuff for Twitch. I have a jar. I have a Twitch if anybody wants to check me out there. I mostly do like open world games, open-ended games, like a truck simulator, a city building game, City Skylines. And then on Fridays, I might move my visual novels to that, and I don't know. Fridays, I'm either going to be on YouTube here again or on Twitch. I don't know. That's my wild card day. Fridays are wild card, and then Sunday every other week, D&D. So anybody who wants to do that, I think I have in the description, twitch.tv/DirkTheRedPanda. Yeah. It would be fun if I could maybe try this out on a, see how this would go with all my different Twitch rewards and stuff, like how people would react. But I probably would do that with something more lighthearted than Password, because I don't want people to be pogging out in the middle of Password and doing the silly emotes in the middle of a serious Password moment. Well, that and there's like a billion different passwords I have to re-crack again and remember. I only know one. And that was werewolf. Because, me like werewolf. Oh boy, so-and-so just died. Poggers. F's in chat for whoever Memphis just shot. Oh, it would be brutal. Oh man. But yeah, I'm not streaming this Sunday. I should say that tomorrow, since it's every other week, it's not this week. Next stream should be Monday, and I'll be doing my truck simulator that day. We'll be adventuring through Washington, whatever you like to pronounce it as. But yeah, that is my stuff. For anybody who's a patron, here's a quick little flash again. Thank you to my patrons, North Grizz, aka Blide Lowen. He has an amazing channel here on YouTube where he does a straight narration that is recorded and clean and awesome. It is a smooth, buttery voice. Anyway, North Grizz, Type A Roth, Mogrim Wolfram, Andrew Buenaventura, Ryan Atkins, Kiam Otter, Spatan98, Dinkdark, Nai Wang, Dennis Aureliano Gonzalez, Anonymous, and AL Bryant. Those are my patrons. Twitch subs, I mean, I just kind of have you there. Slow Panda, Perpy the Cat, and Victor Wolf YT are my tier 1s. Yeah, that is everything for today. Where do I go from here? Ending the recording, I guess. So, I thought of a catchphrase the other day, and I need to start implementing it. I'm trying to remember it now. This might sound really cheesy, but good lives bring good vibes. Or no, good vibes bring good lives. I can't even get it right. But anyway, I'll try my best with this. So that is all for today. Thank you to everybody for watching. And remember, good vibes bring good lives. Take care, folks.